So did you guys know a new Paranormal Activity movie dropped? I'm genuinely asking. Did anyone? Because I don't think they did like any marketing for this movie whatsoever. Anyway, new Paranormal Activity dropped.
We are shooting a documentary because I am about to meet my first biological relative.
She's Amish.
Paranormal Activity Next of Kin is the seventh film in the Paranormal Activity franchise, and the first that is a completely standalone sequel if you don't count the Japanese version Tokyo Night, which I don't even think is considered canon anymore. It's directed by William Eubank, the director of Underwater, and written by Chris Landon, who wrote and directed both of the Happy Death Day movies and Freaky. And this time, we have abandoned all ties to Katie and the demon Toby and the cult, and instead are following Margot, a young woman making a documentary centered around reconnecting with the only living relatives that she has after she was left on a doorstep when she was a baby. And upon visiting her family's seemingly quaint Amish village, spooky things start happening. So I've honestly never had the strongest attachment to the Paranormal Activity franchise. I appreciate the first film for being a marvel of indie filmmaking and grossing, like, ridiculous amounts of money when being made for $10,000 and ultimately becoming one of the most profitable indie films of all time. Outside of that, I think it's a fun, spooky movie to watch with friends. It freaked me out the first time I watched it, but on subsequent rewatches, a lot of the terror is stripped out of it because you know what's going to happen. I think the third movie is really fun as a spooky haunted house movie, but outside of that, I think the franchise is kind of boring. I did not like 2 or 4, and I haven't seen past that. I've heard the marked ones is good, but I don't have the time. Enter Next of Kin, a new Paranormal Activity film that, by all appearances, is something different. Unfortunately, it got pretty much no marketing, to the point where I'm not even convinced that anyone was aware it was dropping, and it dropped straight to Paramount Plus instead of theaters, which was a decision that didn't leave me with a ton of faith in it. So my expectations were wary, and I went and watched it, and honestly, if nothing else, I can definitely say that this is different than anything in the franchise. What makes Next of Kin work as well as it does is the dramatic change of format in the structure of the film. Rather than adopting the found footage angle for the 7th time, Eubank and Landon frame this movie entirely differently. Margot's entire goal is to learn about her birth family, and as a result, the film takes on the structure of a documentary. Instead of the usual nothing happens during the day, spooky stuff happens at night, we're gonna drain all the sound out and jump scare you, the whole structure is different. There are multiple camera setups, character interviews, and the way the film shifts between the characters' personal cameras and a more objective camera makes the movie feel genuinely fresh and refreshing, considering it's something different than the last 6 films, and it also changes up the pacing and the structure of the scares. Where the last film was mostly focused on jump scares, amping up the bass and making you tense that way, Next of Kin relegates most of the titular Paranormal Activity to the background. Scares are more quiet, more visually based, and seemingly more concerned with making your hair stand on end than actually making you jump, and yeah, there are jump scares here, but they're fewer and far between, and the creepier elements of this film come from the implications of what this commune is hiding, and whether or not they are actually Amish or something more sinister. It makes Next of Kin into a more intriguing mystery than a straightforward horror film, and the result is the fun of the original movies is somewhat lacking here. You're not really dealing with as much of the haunted house antics here as you are with, like, weird conspiratorial things. But that fun, spooky vibe is replaced with a genuinely intriguing rabbit hole of questions where one answer leads to 6 more new questions. And when that's the focus of the film, I honestly was riveted by it. I found the mystery of this commune slash maybe cult to be very interesting. I was way more invested in trying to understand the ins and outs of this community and what they're worshipping in the mysterious church in the woods. And that's where this movie really works. It feeds you just enough information to pull you further into the mystery, and lets your mind wander with very heavy implications of what's going on without ever overtly saying it. Until the third act. Unfortunately, the third act of this movie is where it kind of totally lost me. I was really digging the whole vibe of, like, documentary crew stumbles on something sinister that they're not supposed to find. So when the movie decides to give you overt answers to the questions you had in your mind in the finale, especially when those answers are less frightening than whatever you were thinking, the result ends up feeling like an anticlimax. Sure, it's crazy, it throws a ton of violent imagery and gore and insane visuals at you, but none of it feels like what the film was building up to this point, and none of it is particularly interesting, and as a result it ends up feeling a lot more like the ending of The Last Exorcism. And the ending was the worst part of The Last Exorcism. So really, I guess this is just one of those movies where your mileage may vary. If you're into this franchise for fun, spooky ghosts and demons jump scaring people in a house, you're probably not going to like this one. If you're sick of that after 6 films and you want something different, you might enjoy this. Or you might be someone like me where you really enjoy the first 2 acts and find them super intriguing, and then the 3rd act just totally blue balls you. I don't know. Like I said, your mileage may vary, but for better or worse, or for better and worse, I guess, this is definitely different than anything the series has given us up to this point, and I actually would be down for more standalone Paranormal Activity movies. Just maybe don't go full splat stick with the ending next time. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel, you want to see more, click down there, like, comment, subscribe. There's a Patreon link down in the description. I have a couple more movies coming up, probably tomorrow, because I'm going to be spending my Halloween doing an Antlers and Last Night in Soho double feature. So that'll be fun, and if you want to be like any of these cool people right here, click the link below, check it out. You might find something you like. You could help us make new quality content for you all to enjoy, and I'll see you all very soon.
Jesus, wir kommen, Jesus, wir kommen.